with the exception of the admin tab, the open questions, and the backlog, these are all different product groups, right? So it's like existing KB is all the knowledge base articles that were on the support site. Google Data Studios, there's a connector team, the support team has issues, orders and workflow. There's this new platform, so this is like updates to the UI. And then this new Raven, which is like an SEO tool. So there's all these different tools. We should expect there to be more tabs added as we go along. And my request to those product owners is go in here and list out whatever you want to get built, right? Because what normally happens, or prior to this, is that they would send me a note in Slack and be like, hey, we need an article about this. And I'm like, yeah, that's not going to work. So putting stuff into each one of these tabs, right? Is any questions about that so far? I think that's pretty obvious for both of you, right?
Yeah.
Assume that from a product manager's perspective, whatever is getting in here is their ask. That is not necessarily what we build, right? So it's like these are, let's call them either aspirational or unstructured requests. So what they're doing is they're probably, putting their beer down for like 5 seconds and then being like, knowledge base articles. Okay, so let's just come up with some stuff, and then just jamming the keys and getting a list here. They may or may not be thinking of it from the perspective as you two would bring, right? Which is like, as a person who does not know this very well, WTF does circ feature mean, right? So it's like they're going to be using terminology that's their product. Like, they don't have this deep nerd level knowledge of what they're doing, and they're going to describe it in those ways. So when they put the stuff in here, realize what they're doing is they're making a request, and the expectation is that, like, as we would do, we'd be like, what does this mean, right? In many cases...
Wait, by the way, that those rank tracking facts that FAQs at the bottom, Leon did a video for me, and it was awesome.
Yeah, I've been...
Awesome.
Yeah, I've been asking them to do videos for a bunch of different stuff, and it really, really helps. The same thing happens with the connector team. The connector team is like, these are some deep level nerds about like integrations, and I think they forget that people don't know what the terminology means. So I asked them to make videos, and the video is like pictures worth 1,000 words, videos worth 1 billion words. It's like, it's really good
it really
stuff.
is. And they're speaking extemporaneously, and they don't realize they're dropping these breadcrumbs while they're doing it.
There's some serious little gems in there. So oftentimes they might not be aware. So these different columns, right? So what is it? Priority 1, 2. I'm just asking the teams to do 1 or 2, right? Like high priority, low priority. I'm like, if they can just split the deck, that's usually a pretty good start. I don't really like giving too many more options in that, because then it's like, well, what does medium mean? Or what is, you know what I mean? Like, what does a 2 mean on a 5-point scale? It's like, it's either high priority or it's low priority, you tell me.
Yeah.
The product or feature is going to be something, again, they might define these things differently than what look like on the side nav, but I try to get them to think about this in being like, in the side nav of the tool, what is the product group that we'd be in? Subject matter expert, I'm asking everybody to give a subject matter expert. Just because a subject matter expert is assigned does not necessarily mean that person is any good. Doesn't mean that they're smart.
What happened to the writer column?
In this case, we don't have that, but I did add it over here.
There you go. Okay, so you're a new Raven. Gotcha. Okay.
So we can do that here if we want. These subject matter experts, depending upon the team, may or may not be good. They may or may not be available. So for example, in our new platform stuff down here, the SME that got added, I think I took this away, was CJ. CJ is busy. He's a customer success team member. He's like always on the call. I can barely get him on the call for like 10 minutes at a time. So it's like, they might be like, he's the person that knows most about it. If you find and I said this to you, Carl, and I believe I said it to you as well, John. It's like if you find that like that subject matter expert is not responsive after, you don't need to do the sales pitch of like call them 8 times. It's like if they don't respond after 2 times, or you're getting a delay that looks like it's going to be, if it was to be persistent across the entire experience, you find yourself being like, this is going to take 6 months to do. Let me know as soon as possible, and I'll just find somebody else. I'll escalate that and find somebody else. There's enough people in the organization that know most of this stuff. So then the topics are basically their requests. Well, then in many cases we can probably consolidate some of these things. It's going to be pretty like common to consolidate requests down. In other cases, we may need to extrapolate a bunch of things out of a single request. So, for example, sometimes the new platform, new UI team are kind of like, describe what it does. It's like, cool, tell me more. So depending upon the product owner, sometimes they need to extrapolate it. I'm sure as technical writers, you guys know this whole game. Final document, once you publish things, the final document is just a list of that. Like that's just a link to the final document so we can find it. These doc types, we can work on this, but generally speaking, it's like, hey, one of the things that Carl was doing was going in here and being like, this is more of a marketing thing and not really a knowledge-based article. So this goes along with the requests might be made where they're like, ooh, tell me like why this is valuable. And it's like, that is not necessarily a technical article. That is them saying they're just riffing on a bunch of different stuff that they want and making a laundry list, and some of the laundry list items might not be technical documentation that would go into a knowledge base, so keep that in mind. Any questions so far?
No, just a slightly different. The final document link is the one that you don't need creds to get into Zendesk. So it's probably going to say support.tapclicks.com. So if it says Google Drive, that's probably a draft link.
Yeah.
If you wanted to do both of them.
So this would be like their either source or reference, right? Or is this something that you created?
This is something.
This is their MP4. So this is like a source.
Right. So it's a source reference. Put that as a source reference. Final document link, which will also be on the backlog page, should be to the Zendesk.
And I've kind of revved on a few of these things here, so let me just do like, this would be a draft. So this would be like when you get into Zendesk and things haven't been published yet, draft. Final is the published. Final, right. Maybe I'll put that as like published.
There you go.
Again, we can solidify these different column headers as we go along, because we're just kind of doing as we go. So here's one of the things that I wanted to talk about was like our status. And I think this is where we have lined out or strike throughs. We have yellow, we have blue, and I know this was Jeremy doing this. The existing KB, we got some like strike throughs. I think there was some different like color coding format that was going on over in here.
Yeah, I got rid of that stuff.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So just wanted to go through this green. I put in the green just as a delimiter, like to identify that. But I see we got a little bit of yellow stuff going on here.
Well, this was my way of helping John, and when he was first coming up, I highlighted these two to point them out to him so he could focus on them and do what I was kind of pointing out for him. So this is not yellow highlighting would not lend itself to a typical status, all right?
Yeah.
And it was the same with the yellow ones on the other one. Those were the three I wanted Jeremy to focus on. So sometimes the highlighting is just a way of communicating and doesn't really lend itself to a unique status in the status column.
Yeah. So like the highlighting, I don't mind highlighting and stuff, but it's also like that is not the same thing as the status type.
Sure. And they would all be in progress, right?
Yeah.
Almost all of them would be in progress.
Right. So in progress versus completed, things like that.
I would have not started, in progress. Maybe
so I can
in review and then published or something like that.
So I had these as a potential validation. So it's like
block. That's a good one. I like that one.
Review needed, published.
You might want to put not started as a fifth one. Or I guess we just leave it blank. That means not started.
blank. It's fine. Okay, so any questions about this concept in terms of using this? Because this is basically like we have these different tabs for all these different feature areas, and then the backlog is the when things get moved into work, right? So that's the intent of this, is to the request from the support team was like, well, how do I know what's coming and what has been done, right? So like I have this this whole team over in India that is like doing all the support, and they are using the knowledge base, and so what they want to know is they want to know like, well, what's been completed, right? And so that's what this would be representative of. And in this case, it's like I moved the stuff that was at the top. You might have noticed this, Carl, that I put like the calculations and navigation stuff. I just moved it down below the completed work. Yeah, and then John, all this stuff over here is down here. So this would be like, all right, this is what's coming up, and then this would be the stuff that's in work. And so then once you get your draft links would go in here, your final docs would go in here. And so the question becomes, do we need all of that information on this over here, or do we just put it over in the backlog? Because then this is duplicative.
No, I don't. A lot of that stuff you don't need in the backlog, like especially like draft link, right? Most of those guys can't get to the draft link anyway because they can't get into Zendesk.
Right.
I would definitely. I mean, I think the only thing that matters is the status and then the link to the finished document, so they can look at it and go, it's not finished. Okay, there's nothing for me to see. Oh, it's finished. I just click on this link. I think those are the only two that matter.
And they can view that in the backlog here. It's like they don't even need that over in that other in those other tabs. It's like they can view this page, they just can't edit this page, which I assume means that they can click on the links and things like that. So
yeah, I would simplify this backlog page and get rid of things like draft link and source reference link.
So I was thinking of going the opposite direction, which would be simplify these pages and have this be the work page, right? So this is where like, okay, here's all the requests, and imagine that like in this case, all they're getting is they're just supplying this stuff in essence. Maybe not even Zendesk.
You could almost get rid of all the other connectors.
And then just get rid of the rest of the stuff,
It's your call. I can work it either way.
Okay. John, any thoughts about either of these options, or is this making sense in terms of how to use this document?
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, I'm obviously I'm leaving it to you. You guys are more steeped in it and better understand how best to organize it. I can be flexible and just following along whatever format, wherever you put the columns and links. Really, I mean, I kind of agree with what Carl said. For our purposes, it seems like it's simple. A few columns would suffice.
Yeah. Okay. I'll probably try to keep these to being just the requests then. Like these tabs, I'll just keep these to being the requests, so that we're not like, basically they have to provide some source materials for that, and then when it comes to the backlog is actually sort of like the process work being done. And this is where it's like, as drafts come and as final document links come, etc., things like that, it's like this will be the work that gets completed, and then these are just sort of the sausage in the background being made. And that way we can reduce
sausage in the background. I love that.
We can get rid of all these other column headers over here and not have to worry about those being problematic. Okay.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. I'll make those changes to those tabs. All right. So, John, do you have any questions, or do either of you have any questions broadly outside of sort of like this project management aspect?
I'm good.
Well, I'd like some more guidance on that, how to create a new client in the mapping page article.
Yeah.
Right, so I went through the video, and I mean, maybe I could.
Oh, that video. Oh, I was gonna respond. Sorry, I went through meetings. That video is old AF. So anything, if you should ever go to a customer care.tapclicks site like this, customer care, this is the old knowledge base, and this is like paleo. It's possible that like this stuff might, just for warning, it's like this stuff might be super duper old.
Okay.
So they were using computers. So it says that it was sometime within the last 30 or 40
30.
years. So that's good. But so when you see customer care, there's still. I actually brought this up literally after you sent that. I sent this over to our web dev team. Was like, why are the old customer care sites still available? I assume that you searched for this and probably found it. So let's take a look. All right, that's fine. So what you had a question about is you had a question about what, creating clients or client groups, or you're talking about mapping?
Well, so I'm trying to understand, what. Okay, so you have admin, users, clients, a user type, and then there appears to be a couple of different articles on how to create users and how to create clients, right? So, but then that topic mentions mappings. So is it a different path to creating a client through mappings, or is there a special or an alternative way to create clients in mappings? What is the assignment? I'm just trying to get specific on that.
Oh, gotcha. So like what are assignments? Like what does that mean?
No, I mean, so when you think of clients and mappings, right? You're trying to create a mapping. Well, not what, maybe not why, but is there a way to create a client through the mappings feature module, whatever? Or do you just create clients in one place?
Yeah, let's take a look at it. So so I am an agency, and maybe this is like maybe I'm just being stupid, right? But just play along. So let's pretend we're an agency, and we have we're using Google Analytics. We have our clients have a bunch of different Google Analytics accounts attached to our Google Analytics account. So like I'm managing things through Google Analytics. I attach Google Analytics, so I do the data connection between Google Analytics and TapClicks. So then when that connection gets made, it's going to it's going to look at all of the different accounts that I have within Google Analytics and bring those over, and they're going to show up here. So I was in, data sources. I go to Google Analytics. Here's my Google Analytics, and I want to assign to the clients. Because what the system doesn't know is like if I have clients on my side, on the TapClick side, and then I bring in accounts from Google Analytics, I need to make the association between those, right? Because on the TapClick side, I might have client A who has Facebook, Twitter, Google Analytics, whatever, and I might call them like, Brian's good team, right? But in Google Analytics, I refer to them as like APN Lodge. And so I'm like, all right, I need to make the association for the system that like Brian's good team is APN Lodge. I need to show that relationship.
Okay.
Because the naming convention might be different across Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Google Analytics, all that. I need to make that association. So if I want to be like, all right, I would like to map a client. Here's all the accounts that I have from Google Analytics. And let's just go in and look at APN Lodge, right? Or maybe, let's see. Yeah, so we'll just select this one. Let's select it. Okay, here we go. So like, all right, APN Lodge, and it's like, all right, in Google Analytics, you have this thing called APN Lodge. Who would you like to associate that with on the client records that you've created in TapClicks? All right, well, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to say search existing clients, right? And that's going to be like, oh yeah, Toyota Phoenix. This is APN Lodge is actually just Toyota Phoenix. Like I call it Toyota Phoenix, but for whatever reason, Google Analytics, we set it up as APN. So I'd select that here. Or I can be like, you know what? APN Lodge. That's right. We haven't made one for APN Lodge yet. So let me make APN Lodge over here, because this is the first. It's like, oh, like let me bring it over and let me make that association. So now I'm going to come over here and create a new client to make the association to, and I'm going to like make the email, blah blah blah. Like do this data profile crap. I might add in some additional stuff if I have databases that I'm pulling in from my CRM, etc. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and none of I don't think any of that was covered in that video. So.
Oh yeah,
So,
I think that video is probably either old or like it was probably like, yeah, do this and then that. So much of the stuff is just
Well, a lot of
there's
the
a
UI,
reason.
UI's changed a lot lately, so
Yeah, there's
that's updated quick.
this stuff has been persistent for a while, but like there's a reason that we're redoing our knowledge base. So like there's a
Okay.
there's a reason that both of you exist, is because so much of it was on one end of the spectrum, either way too much detail that it's not helpful, or not enough detail that it's not helpful. So,
okay. Well, this has
but yeah,
been helpful. This kickstarts
yeah, I can
me.
create new clients in this experience, and all I'm doing is I'm just think of like there's up to 250 or more potential data sources that all have their own naming conventions that all need to be mapped to something that I have on my side. And so this TapClicks, in essence, if you really boil it down, the whole system, what is the core of the system? It is a super connector between marketing data sources and basically like whatever client records you have. So you're just making those associations, and the naming conventions could be different across every single one of these different data sources, which is a pretty common problem. Because like if you go set up that account 6 months ago, you could be like, yeah, let's just call it like APN Lodge. And I could be like, actually it's called, the Aspen Planning Network Lodge, and so I'm going to call it Aspen Planning Network Lodge, and like I'm going to use that. Or I could be like APN-L. That is a huge, naming conventions are a huge problem across this, doing this kind of work.
Right.
Interesting.
Okay. Well, I got you. And then I think I understand the fetching one, at least in a rudimentary way, so I can go forward and start knocking out drafts of each of these. And then now, procedurally, how do you want to do that? Do you have a Google Drive folder in which you want to create the drafts? How do you want me to approach doing the writing?
I can set up a shared folder for you, and we'll just create it in there. And then that way it can be shared with the team here, and I'll send you a link to the.
And it's easily shareable. It's you own it and you manage it and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I'll set that up. And then let me know with CJ. Again, he's a busy mofo. So like if he's not responsive for any reason or like gets back, then we can find you somebody else. There's a couple other people that I have in mind that can help out with this.
Great, thanks so much.
Okie dokie. All right, I'll make the change. I'll get John. I'll get you a folder to put stuff in, and I'll make changes to those other files just so that it's more clear. We'll use the backlog as our working file. So when you bring things over into work after you've deliberated with your respective product team to figure out what the things are, then just dump them over into what is currently the backlog tab, and we'll use the work in there to keep track of like drafts and whatnot.
Very good.
Okie doke.
Cool, man.
All right, you guys. Thanks a lot.
All right, have a good day.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.